at least every 2 to 3 houses, every person has 2 cars, and one of them is an EV car. I would say a lot of people wouldn't trust it because they would think, oh, it's bad quality. I have a couple of Chinese models. They're actually the most viewed videos on YouTube. My name is Fadi Haber, and I'm a journalist content creator with Yalla Motor. If I'm gonna talk about EV cars, I mean, yes, the Middle East are starting to like EV cars, although ironically, we don't need them much because we don't have high petrol prices, like all around the world. So we can still rely on petrol cars more than EV cars. But you do have a lot of people actually buying EV cars because it's just a sense of the future, you know, having an EV car. And I can see right now at least every 2 to 3 houses, every person has 2 cars, and one of them is an EV car. It could be any brand, BYD, Zeekr is still not here yet. It could be Tesla, it could be any other Chinese electric brand, like for example, the Volkswagen ID4 or the Volkswagen ID6, which this is a whole another story because this was all exported from China. So yeah, I think it's a great market. People are liking it. A lot of them are liking EV cars, and they're still testing the water, basically. Now, if this is gonna succeed in the future, I have no idea. So only time will show us the answer. The GCC has always, let's say, in terms of the most produced cars, was always been dominated by Japanese cars in general. For example, Toyota, Nissan, Honda, because that's what everybody used to trust in for like years. Right now, the Chinese, for the last 4 or 5 years, the Chinese brands, I can see them more on the road. Like now, I can see them as taxi cars. I see more of them like in my compound, I would see more Chinese cars when Chinese cars started to be imported into the GCC. I would say a lot of people wouldn't trust it because they would think, oh, it's bad quality, there isn't much development, and so on and so on. But today, in the last 3 or 4 years, many other brands that are coming from China, have to admit it's going crazy. The development, the research, the amount of safety, the amount of work put into these cars in terms of designs, in terms of performance, it's astonishing, honestly. Ironically, one of the things why I review a lot of Chinese cars on YouTube, because it brings a lot of views. There's a reason behind it, because you know the English YouTube, or just in general all the English channels, when it comes to automotive, it's one of the biggest YouTube channels are in the US. So since in the US they don't get Chinese cars there, and I think until today they don't have any Chinese cars there, so these Americans sometimes they're actually curious to know about Chinese cars. So who are the only one who review Chinese cars? Mostly the GCC countries, New Zealand, Australia, even people in China itself. For example, I have a couple of Chinese models. They're actually the most viewed videos on YouTube, more than any other supercar or sports car that I took before when I reviewed. So that's reason number one, engagement, brings good engagement. And I've been reviewing more Chinese cars because I've been really curious about Chinese cars. Honestly, I've never driven a Chinese car before. I've never reviewed one until I started this job, and I'm like, I need to give it a shot and see how these cars are. And the years come in, Chinese cars are just changing like crazy. They're reaching to a level where it's really scary for the market. Like everybody's gonna be like, they have to step their game up, basically. Now I think there's something with Chinese brands is, every 1 to 2 years, I feel not all of them, but sometimes they cancel a model and they do a new model. So it's complete body part, it's a complete a different chassis. So this would kind of create an issue in the market because there's still new brands, and if that customer's, I don't know, he got into an accident or something and he needs a bumper, for example, he would have to wait for a long time for the order to come in and get that bumper. So I think maybe make these models for a longer generation, for like 5-6 years, so you have more parts in the market and everything. But for Chinese cars, you feel it's only with the dealer. It's really hard to get the aftermarket like from somewhere else. So it's nice to have a nice ecosystem about it, you know, not just niche on one thing. Previously, I went twice to China. The first one was Great Wall Motors, and the second one was with Zeekr. For example, with Zeekr, the HQ, the research and development warehouses, their assembly plant, everything, I was like, oh my God, this is huge. Like the amount of land they own and the amount of AI technology they put in, the whole warehouse was automated. I reached a level I was like, sorry to say that, but damn, the Chinese are gonna dominate the market. They're gonna dominate, and they're already dominating the market, but I'm talking specifically about the automotive market, which I think recently they just surpassed Japan by being the biggest car exporter in the world, I think, which shows an impressive number. For example, I was in the warehouse of Zeekr. They had a huge screen where it shows you all the assembly lines and where the car is going and where the car is going to get assembled, where the part. It's like all automated. Like, and apparently, what I understood, it was like 100% sure, accurate robots, basically. So there's no space for errors. And this is impressive. The Chinese know how to build EV cars. And I do think they're the best in the world to do that. And I do think with now BYD and Zeekr in the market, it's going to be a very tough competition again with Tesla. So let's see.